and I try and split them into three, right? And it goes in pre-confidence, in-moment confidence, and then post-confidence. Where can I leverage informed confidence? Where can I be informed that I've done this shit before? Okay, what kind of exercises can you do to give you confidence? I get roasted a lot, and I get a lot of shit about the posture that I have, which is the fucking hand here. And you want to be someone who people like. It is about maintaining a very soft but consistent eye contact. Hello, everybody. Cheers for joining in on this random live that we're on. I'm going to try and jump into chat and respond to some of the questions. So fire them away on all the various platforms that we're on. Trying to do a 360 bobblehead like a clown at a royal show to see if I can respond to as many of them as I can. But the point is, I want to try and get into a question that I get asked a lot, and I thought a live is a great way of trying to do it, is having confidence in sketchy situations. And, well, the unfortunate truth is we do get ourselves into a lot of sketchy situations. So confidence in sketchy situations. Now, I think the thing that I've kind of figured out over the many years now, for those of you who've tuned into a random live and have no idea who I am, this is Mr. Sick Cunt. Jasky is my name. There is a number of items in the framework, and I try and split them into three, right? And it goes in pre-confidence, in-moment confidence, and then post-confidence. So we're about to release a video, and I'm sharing this as a story. Blake, I'm not in Broome, unfortunately, anymore. I'm back in Perth at the moment in the studio, but we're about to shoot this video. We've done this video. We're about to release it. It'll go out in the next couple of days. And that was us traveling to Nimbin, which was one of the most requested locations for us to go to. And there are, and if you're not signed up to the YouTube, if you're out on TikTok, and if you're watching this on Instagram, go subscribe to the YouTube, because that video is a absolute banger. So it's coming out in a couple of days. And Nimbin is known as the drug capital of Australia. And so there was certain situations where you have to be prepped to know the kind of characters / behaviors and environments and situations you are going to be dealing with. So the pre-confidence, and I'm hoping you can parlay, you can cross this into your own world. It's not just about interviews. All of you are not going to do street interviews, because insane people do this, and I'm hoping most of you on here are not insane people. But to get the pre-confidence in the situation, is there are two differences between informed and uninformed confidence. Now, informed confidence is you've done this shit before, right? So you've done it. You can lean on the previous criteria, the previous levels of experience, confidence, and you can leverage it to go, hey, I'm confident because I've done this. I'm confident because I've done this many times previously. Uninformed confidence is the fucking garbage you see on the internet all the time, which is, look in the mirror and just say, I'm the best. I'm the most confident person there is. I'm strong, and all that absolute rah-rah nuisance garbage, which internally your body just rejects immediately. But the things to lean into, and the things that I always try and lean into, is where can I leverage informed confidence? Where can I be informed that I've done this shit before, right? Or something similarly that I can go, hey, I'm confident to step into this situation. And it doesn't mean interviews. It means a boardroom meeting, a big presentation, a speech in front of thousands of people, trying to have a tense conversation with someone, trying to navigate a very, very difficult deal negotiation. I've had to be consulting in certain deals and negotiations which are high value with a high status person who's done it many, many times. What can you leverage to get a little bit of informed confidence, right? So informed versus uninformed confidence, one of the most important things. So going into a situation, if you can keep yourself informed using things that have happened to you in your experience. Say you're about to make a sales call, you're hella nervous, you're sweating your balls off trying to make a sales call, and you're like, I'm getting nervous. I'm not confident before making this call. Leverage something similar you've done. Something, anything. It doesn't have to be a call. It doesn't have to be the same activity. You can leverage this time that I had to door knock and convince someone. Okay, that's one step in the right direction, right? Don't don't leverage the rah rah of your just looking in the mirror and just pumping yourself up. Doesn't work. The other key things in the pre-confidence, we're still in the first category. This is before the situation even begins. The things that I do is you regulate the nervous system. Get yourself fucking calm. If you're anxious as shit heading into a situation, it's not gonna it's not gonna be the best foundation that you're walking in with, right? Gotta before starting this, there is a level of nervousness. There's a level of tension. You're like a little bit, oh, what am I going to say? I'm going to have to go live. There's no edits. There's none of that shit. I'm going to talk for like fucking 40 minutes straight. If you regulate your nervous system, which is essentially breathing exercises, right now, this is some wellness, hippie, rah, all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is that kind of shit works. So regulating your nervous system with some breathing exercises, which is deep breathing. You go in, breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4, whatever. That's what I do. Breathe in deep for 4, breathe out for 4, and you start to get calm. And you suddenly don't have that jitteriness. You don't have those levels of nerves before you're walking into a situation. The other thing that I always have to do when you're entering a new situation, like I said, we're about to put out that video for Nimbin, which, like I said, is a banger. So everyone out there on the various platforms, like I'm looking at TikTok and Instagram, jump on and subscribe to the YouTube, because that is one of the situations that I use a lot of this framework. Is you got to preload some boundaries, right? And I'll say that again. You got to preload boundaries, meaning you got to know that where do you pull the pin? Meaning if you have all possible scenarios, all possible outcomes on the table, that shit's going to go downhill quite quickly, because you're allowing everything to be okay and then navigating it on the fly. That's not easy, because you need to know, okay, well, this is the boundary for this action. This is the boundary for this action. Meaning, if someone is behaving in a sketchy manner and there's a criteria of, I know what the hell a sketchy manner is, at that point, it's an exit. It's a hard exit. Or I have to call this person in. Or if I see someone completely off their head, well, we know the boundaries. We're not talking to them. We're going to talk to someone adjacent to them. So you preload your existing conditions. And then when you're entering that, you're way more confident because you know you've already created the scaffolding and you can exit without having to fucking navigate it on the fly. That shit's very, very, very difficult, right? Having to navigate it on the fly without having any clear boundaries is very, very hard. So informed confidence, lean on shit that you've done before. That gives me a ton of confidence. Regulate the nervous system, probably the biggest banger, bang for buck, highest value. It just when you relax, you can do a lot more shit. When you're just calm and you're relaxed and your nervous system's not firing off and you're not fidgety, anxious, you're not. It just goes a lot better, right? And preload your boundaries. A couple other things that give me confidence when I go into a situation is doing a lot of improv exercises, right? Because you got to get the mind free flowing, and that's very specific for doing interviews, for doing things that are on the fly and having to come up with stuff, and that is an exercise I do just to serve that purpose, right? So it is you've got to get a kind of exercise that your testing is when you're in the trial part of, sorry, when you're not in the actual practice, when you're not actually performing and you're doing the pre-work, that's got to be fucking harder than the actual performance, right? So if that can be more difficult than the actual performance, and the performance is easier, it's just fucking logical, right? So the way to do that for me is uh, there's a specific improv exercise. So for example, let's take an example. Drivers for your transport company. Okay, perfect. So you've got interviews that are coming up. Okay, what kind of exercises can you do to give you confidence to do those interviews? And now, if you're conducting the interviews, well, the advantage you have is you have a level of power because you're the person giving the job. Whereas the person coming in as an interviewee is generally a little bit more nervous than the interviewer. But in that situation, make it well. You've got to have the right questions, right? So the practice here, I think, the best practice for you, MILF Hunter. Uh, Hopefully, your company name is slightly different. But if not, that's okay. That's okay. Maybe a truck driving service for that purpose would be awesome. If you are interviewing someone, the practice you have for that is you've got to try and find the most relevant, you got to find the immediate ability to put someone in that situation as quickly as possible. Simulate the experience of the job as quickly as you possibly can, right? Because what happens with hiring someone is, or for the person that's getting hired, is they will start a job or you will hire the person to start a job. And then you do this interview process. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the things hey, can you tell me about one experience you had in your life? And how did it, all that fucking garbage that eventually has no simulation to the actual job. They come into the job and you're like, well, this person sucks. So as an interviewer, your job as in that interview is to put them in the job as quickly as possible. How can you do that? Can you get them to mock something? What do you need for a driver? I don't know. Can you get them to do 100 squats? I don't know. What do drivers do? Sit for a very long period. Go, hey, here's a chair, mate. Sit here for 45 minutes straight without moving, staring into the abyss and seeing if you can spot a bunch of UFOs and look at trees which are being run on this screen and just stay there. And then do a couple of lines and just sit there for a very whatever the simulation is, simulate it as quickly as possible because then you get your answer a lot better. So the pre-confidence is the longest part. And then there are certain ways you can channel the energy you want. Now, I'll try and rephrase this to explain what I actually mean is you want to be in a certain level of energy. Like before going into this, right? Before going into this live and sitting here, I want to have an energy where I'm kind of high energy. I'm not like this all day. I'm not like, wait, hey, what's going? But you want to have a level of energy. Otherwise, people are going to tune out, right? So you've got to be quickly able to channel that energy. When I'm doing certain interviews, and like I said, there's a YouTube coming out for Nimbin, the drug capital of Australia. That'll be out in a couple of days. So subscribe to the YouTube. In those situations, I want to have a level of very relaxed energy. I don't want to come in too high. Yeah, I don't want to come in too high energy, too confronting for people. And it's gonna create a clash. They're gonna be like, fuck this. I don't want to be hanging out with this dude. This guy's too much. So you got to be able to channel energy very quickly. And how do you channel energy? I do it by creating a bunch of triggers. Triggers meaning an energy I've had for another situation in the past, right? Where have I had really high energy? I finished a game and we won. We had a cricket game, scored 100, took 8 wickets. I mean, that was just a regular Tuesday for me, but that's okay. Scored 100, 8 wickets, man of the match. Fucking the energy was elite, right? Elite, top shelf. Now, can I go back and relive that energy? Now, how can I channel it that I can recall it at any time? There's like an anchoring technique that happens as part of some neurolinguistic program. We don't have to get into it, but essentially it is by having a certain action. So it's like in my case, it's a thumb and third finger. You press that, and when you do it often enough by remembering the energy you had. I don't know if you can see that there, right? You do it often enough, remembering the energy you had, at that moment, and it starts to become like second nature, and it puts you in that same space. And then you can have different triggers. You could just fucking knock your elbow to your leg and channel something different, right? You could I don't know, whatever you want to achieve, you can channel that kind of energy by creating triggers and just pinpointing the time you had the energy you want to simulate. Now, once you move from pre-confidence and you move into in-moment confidence, right? Which is while you're in the moment, okay? There's a lot less that's required here. If you got the confidence up front and you're already you've already done that work, when you're in the moment, it becomes a lot easier. So whatever you're trying to do out there in the world is whatever you're trying to do out there in the world, you have got to go, what can I pack before I even get into the situation? Right? What can I pack into it before I even walk into that situation? And I guarantee you that is one of the most important parts of the whole process. Yeah. And yes, the face, even your hand on hip is hilarious. Okay, well, look, that's a good segue to go into in moment confidence. I get roasted a lot, and I get a lot of shit about the posture that I have, which is the fucking hand here and the this kind of thing, So like the hand and you know doing this thing, um, and and I'll give you a bit of backstory as to why I do that, and that is purely because I have tried to curate the type of character, like that is Mr. Sikhan or Sikhan, the interviewer, is is not me. I mean, it is me, but that is not how I behave in the world, right? And a lot of people are shocked. They meet me and they go, "Oh, dude, I was expecting you to be doing 8 lines of coke and uh, spinning out and missing 4 teeth and just kind of like elbowing people walking past, right? Like that. They just think that I'm just some eccentric, out of control human being that just like is just scattered and can't retain a single thought, but just like all over the shop. And and I love that that is the kind of character that's being created because that's what we wanted to curate. We wanted to curate the easiest person to talk to, right? The lowest risk person that you can possibly meet, right? And it didn't start that way. I started uh, chest out, a little bit, confrontational, a little bit stern. Um, Mic like, like I'm fucking doing one of these, like holding a mic straight into someone's face, like I'm an inspector. So, you know, yeah, where 8 lines was a slow weekend. So and then slowly, we modeled the body language, the type of mannerisms, the behavior, how you approach the person to try to be the most aloof, odd, most easiest person you can actually talk to. Most low stakes person that can come into your world, can enter your world, right? So that all comes down to body language, and you can curate the body language however you like for whatever situation you want. And that is kind of an in moment confidence, is because you've created a character. If it's not you, and now you're a type of character, then that makes the whole thing easier because you're not worried about your own ego. Your ego is gone because now you're this character. It's like, well, I'm just playing a role. I'm an actor, right? So when you're an actor, it's not as bad. It's like, oh well, whatever happens, whatever people say to me, it's not really me. It's this other person. They're critiquing that. So you detach yourself from some of this judgment, right? And that already gives you a level of confidence. It's like, well, it's not really me. And one of the most important things when you're in moment, uh, doing it in the conversation, when you're in the conversation, one of the most important things is about being calm the longest. If Well, I'm talking to strangers. People are not expecting to talk to me. People are going about their life. They're walking somewhere. They're normally off to some shit, and you got this fucking weirdo with a mustache who looks like a wanted criminal in Mexico, walking up with a camera and a microphone and trying to ask you a question. It's not the most ideal situation to be stopped, right? More often than not, people are not fucking interested to talking to you. They're not. They're busy going on in their world, and you're trying to stop them to try and have a conversation, and I'm trying to disarm them in such a short period of time. So the thing you want to try and do to build confidence in the other person and yourself is to just be as calm for as long as possible, right? So if the other person knows you're calm, they'll get calm. If there is a little bit of distress, if someone's getting a little bit edgy, fidgety, da da da, you've got to stay calm. You've got to be the stillness indicates control. Stillness indicates confidence. Stillness indicates you are providing space. So be calm the longest. Be so calm that any level of distress, any level of tension, any level of resistance dissipates. You got to just keep being there, right? Amongst the wind. The wind is hitting you from all angles, and you are that calm structure with its roots in the ground for as long as possible. And one other thing is maintaining eye contact. And you got to maintain the soft eye contact, two eyes into one eye, and alternating. Don't be a serial killer. Don't look like a murderer. Don't do. If you want to get the best out of someone, if you want to have the best performance, if you want to connect really quickly, if you want to have some of the best conversations with strangers, you want to walk into any room and connect with people very, very quickly, and you want to be someone who people want to talk to, and you want to be someone who people like, it is about maintaining a very soft but consistent eye contact. You can put the effort in a world of AI where this is probably the only skill aside from programming fucking AI that is going to be incredibly valuable in the world. That is communication. That is one-to-one in-person communication. Writing skills no one needs. Everyone can do. Everyone can just put it into ChatGPT and it spits out the best prose of all time. So what value is writing? You got Copilot when you're typing in emails. You don't even need to do it, right? And when you're doing anything scripted, people can prepare it. I can't prepare this. I'm doing this on the fly in a live. So this is the one of the most important, valuable skills. Train it, work on it. It can make such a magnanimous difference in your life and moving forward. And some of the most important things to learn is eye contact, body language. Because if you can read a person, you can you can you can do whatever. You can develop comfort with them. You can develop connection with them. You can engage them. All of the above, right? Excessive 4S. How do you put someone at ease when you start to notice they're getting uncomfortable? Well, that's an awesome question. There's a number of ways you can put someone at ease. It depends on why they're getting uncomfortable. If you can diagnose why they're getting uncomfortable, then you know how to do it. Now, sometimes you can't know, but typically the the overarching way of doing it is by engaging them in something more interesting. If they're getting uncomfortable, it means they want to exit. It's not really interesting. They're not connecting with it. How do you get them to connect with it? Share something about yourself, right? Share a little bit of your in a story manner. Tell them tell them something about yourself in a story. Hey, many years ago, what we were talking about was Paris. I went to Paris, and I actually proposed to my wife in front, well, a couple of bridges away from the Eiffel Tower, and there was so many different people there that I got just so nervous that I didn't know what. And then soon you're sharing your own story. You're allowing yourself to be a little bit more open with them, and then hopefully if you're expressing it not like a weirdo that's edgy and looking all over the place, and you're delivering it kind of in a comfortable manner, the person will become more comfortable. Post confidence. Once you've had the moment, there is something. that we all forget to do, and that is after the fact. After the fact is as important as before the fact, right? And this is, and why it's important is because it gives you a chance to review the things that you thought in your mind's eye went a certain way. You can actually now review them. Now I record obviously all my interviews because that's why you're all here, because they've been shared, and I can go back and look at them. And you know what? I used to do stand up. I still do stand up. I did stand up for many years. And you think you've had the most amazing set, and I delivered it in this way, and I was holding the mic, and I was whoa, and everyone's like, "What a fucking legend!" And then you listen to it back, and you're like, "That wasn't the case. I didn't deliver that one very well. I kind of was you start to notice things when you watch and review the thing that you did, right? So the clinical analysis post game is as important as pre-game. And what that does is that leverages confidence for next time. So if you don't do the work after the thing you've done, the next time is going to be even worse because you did not do the post work, the clinical analysis. What went right? What went wrong? How should I do it better? What notes do I need to take? Where was I nervous? Because if that's what you're working on, where was I uncomfortable? How did I fidget? Where did I look? And why did I move in this manner? And write down all the notes. And the next time you can apply them, because that builds your confidence, because you did the analysis. Next time you don't have to do as much pre-work. So by doing the post-work, you're eliminating some of the pre-work and you're getting better a lot faster. I get better a lot faster by watching my post-work. And it also allows you to build that informed confidence. I did this, and here's what I did really well. So next time it's so much better. Stevens Padotto, post-confidence sounds like pre-ejaculation. And the couple of other things to do post confidence is strengthen your anchor. So the anchor that I was referring to is when you can find a certain emotion and you want to anchor it into your body. So like doing that, I did that. If you haven't been here, I was doing a lot of this before. So if you have no idea what I'm referring to, was when you can find yourself having a certain emotion and you want to channel it very quickly, you build an anchor or a trigger in your body so that next time you get into that emotion, the emotion, the energy, the mindset, the frame that you want, and if you can repeat that often enough, it becomes easy and it becomes repeatable. It becomes something that you can do instantly, right? So there's pre-confidence, in-moment confidence, post-confidence, and post-confidence is as important as the other two. So hopefully that gives you some of the framework. I know it's been a bit scattered because I'm reading comments, trying to talk at the same time, but I hope it gives you some little bits of how it answers the question that people keep asking me, is how do you build that confidence to go into these situations, talk to these people? Well, that is how I do it. All right. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully you found that interesting and valuable. I'll try and do more of these. I'll try and make them more regular. And the way you can get me to jump on and talk about a topic is to just send a DM on any of the various platforms. You can go on and just flick it through, and I will try, and as long as it's something useful, meaningful, instead of me just sitting here and talking shit, you can watch that on all the videos. That's nothing greater I can add value in. But if I can, I will go through and provide something valuable. But for all of you that would like some additional help with your communication skills, I'm going to do one last plug. Jasky.me, JASKY.me. Jump on, you can get some assistance and I can help you build some of these things if you get through as one of the few people that get onboarded every month. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. I will see you again at some point. Take care. Bye-bye.